Om Shachidambaram, Namaste to all. On the occasion of Mahashivaratri 2025, I wanted to start a new playlist about the Nayanmars, the great Shiva saints of Tamil Nadu. I was recently in Sri Kalahasti, which is closely associated with Kannapa Nayanmar, so I said I'll start with him. Now, a little bit about the Nayanmars. They are 63 of them, and they are extraordinary saints, but they are not stories that you would expect. They tend to turn all your expectations on the head. The Nayanmars tend to be very strange, sometimes very peculiar, sometimes they do actions which leave you quite stunned. And these are people who are supposed to be beloved of Shiva, which only proves that, I am fond of saying that the divine does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. So, the Nayanmar stories are all true. You would wonder, this counts as devotion. Yes, it does count as devotion. It does count as being completely lost in Shiva. Only Shiva knows what is genuine devotion and what is made up. One of the epithets of Shiva is he who sees into the heart of things. And all the Nayanmar stories are about Shiva seeing into the heart of things, seeing into the genuine love for the divine that a person has. Now, the story of Kannapa Nayanar is directly connected to Sri Kalahasti. Sri Kalahasti is the Vayu Lingam, the lingam that is the Arya Tattva. But the story, there are multiple other important factors associated with Sri Kalahasti. I'll get into that some other time. This is just about Kannapa. So, he was a hunter. He was born in a hunting clan. And let me just be sure that I've got the names right. He was born in a forest called Udupur, and his parents were Nagan and Tattai. They had a great desire for a child, but they had a child born only in the old age with the blessings of Muruga. And when the child was born, he was named Tinnan, which means strong, because he was apparently so heavy that even the father could hardly reach him up. When he became 16 years old, he took over the position of the tribe, the leader of the hunter. And once while they were leading a hunt, he came to this hill, and on top of the hill, the Vayu Lingam of Sri Kalahasti was visible, and he felt instant devotion. He was overwhelmed with devotion. He was overwhelmed with bhakti. And he wanted to start worshipping it. But since he was a hunter, he did not know the proper agama things. What he did was, he would offer it meat, because that was what he valued. So what he valued the most, he was offering as a sacrifice to Shiva. Then he would bring flowers to put on the Shivlingam, which he would carry in his hair. And then from his hair, he would take it and put it on the Shivlingam. And he would bring water in his mouth. He would use that water as Abhishekam of the Shivlingam. And he would do this every day and go away. In the evening, a Brahmin of the area would come, and he would see meat scattered around, and he would be appalled. So he would clean it up and do proper puja according to the agama. And so this dynamic continues for 7 days. On the 6th day, he's like, I'm going to wait in the morning and catch this person who's coming and desecrating the Shivlingam. And Mahadeva himself appears and says, no, you are mistaken. This is all the offerings of a very great devotee of mine. To me, that he does not know how to do the puja in the proper manner, in the proper ritualistic manner, does not count. The extent of devotion is what matters. Now, this is a very dangerous statement. While it is true for Kannappa Nayanar, it is not true for us. We should not get into the habit of thinking bhakti se thoda adjust kar lo aur hum kuch bhi kar sakte hain. We should worship Shiva in any manner he wants and he will accept. Perhaps so, if you are that great a devotee. Otherwise, it is better to accept, to worship in the normal fashion, make the correct offerings. So he says, wait and see why I accept these offerings. You may think that he is disrespecting me by offering me flowers he carries in his hair. You may think that he is desecrating me by giving me meat and by pouring out water that he carries in his mouth, but wait and see why. So he hides there and he sees him come, and when Kannappa comes, that time he was not called Kannappa, he was called Dhinan. So when Dhinan comes, he sees that there are 2 eyes on the Shivlingam suddenly, and one of them is bleeding. And he goes into great panic because this is his Ishta, this is his devotion, and now what is to be done? How to cure this? He tries some forest herbs and things, and the bleeding doesn't stop. Then he remembers an old saying, flesh for flesh. So he immediately plucks out his eye and puts it in the place of the bleeding eye, and the bleeding stops. He's about to rejoice when the other eye starts bleeding. Now he is so carried away with his devotion that he's like, I can't take this, I'll put my other eye over there. But how will I make sure? If I pluck out my second eye, then I will be blind. So how will I make sure that I can put it in the correct place? So he puts his foot over the bleeding eye, and then he is about to pluck out his second eye, so that when he plucks it out, he can place it where his foot is, and Shiva emerges from the lingam. They say a hand comes out of the lingam and stops him, and he says, you have given your eye to Appa, to Shiva, to the Father. So from today you will be known as Kannappa, and your devotion is unparalleled. And he is immediately liberated, and he goes to live in Kailasa with the other bhaktas of Shiva. Now in Tamil Shaivism, they have a very interesting concept that if you are with a genuine bhakta of Shiva, that is the same as being with Shiva himself. Not like being with Shiva himself, the same as being with Shiva himself. The company of a genuine bhakta is the company of Shiva. To be in a Shiva Kshetram, a Shiva temple, is to be with Shiva, in Shiva. Not like Shiva, not a symbol. It is actually, the temple is Shiva. The bhakta is Shiva. Now there is an interesting side note to this story. They say that Kannappa was actually Arjuna in his previous life. Arjuna, when he was doing tapasya to get the Pashupata Astra from Shiva, he had a fight with Shiva in the Kirata form, in the hunter form. That fight is not the problem. When Shiva was in the Kirata form, Arjuna spoke very disparagingly of him. Because, I am a prince and you are just a hunter. So Arjuna said some things he shouldn't have said. For that sin, for that aggression against the divine, he had to be born in the form that he despised, and he had to prove his devotion to Shiva one more time. There are many stories about Arjuna as a great Shiva Bhakta some other time, and then he gets his liberation. So then they say that the Pujari, the Brahmin who witnessed the whole thing, he was aghast and he asked Shiva, like, what about me? And he's like, you have some lifetimes to go, keep up your devotion, but you have all these, you don't understand what is genuine love for the divine as yet. You still have notions of what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. But when there is genuine love for the divine, you forget about everything about appropriateness. It is like a tsunami, it breaks down all barriers, it breaks down all norms. And the stories of the Nayanmars are all like this. They are all about breaking norms. Many of them are extremely gory, like this story is gory. They are like a lot of strange actions. And then Shiva comes and says, yes, this is my true devotee. Because this person is literally willing to do anything out of love for me. This person is so committed to my Saiva that he or she is willing to do anything out of love for me, and therefore they are mine. They will stay with me in Kailasa. So this is the story of Kannapa Nayanmar. There will be others. There are 63 Nayanmars, so this is going to be a nice playlist, 63 minimum. And so I thought Shivaratri, we should have a story of a great Shiva Bhakta on Shivaratri. Sarvam Shiva.